Hey, hello everybody. Today I'm here to talk about fate. And is everything fated? Who knows? What is fate? Are all our lives fated to run as they are? Is every day, everything we do, all fated to be? Is it all written in the stars? Have the gods already decided what we're going to do and what we're not going to do? Well, Gurdjieff has a few different ideas about fate. So I thought I'd do some of the quotes from the different books about what is discussed about fate and whether we can do anything about it or not. Let's hope so. So with fate, I'm going to start with views from the real world. In accordance with general cosmic laws, the river flows in a fixed direction. All its turns have a definite purpose. The law of the river as a whole does not extend to the individual drops. The movements of the drops is completely accidental. There is no individual law for it, no personal fate. So it's like everything's set out for us and we just follow along that path. Just noticed that I'm a bit grainy today. Don't know if that will come out in the end recording. I'm not fast. As long as you can still hear me, that should be okay. Um, so fate. Is it fate that the camera's decided to be a bit funny today? Is it meant to be? Maybe it's to make you not concentrate on me and instead concentrate on the actual words that I'm reading out to you to help you break away from the fate of your life that's going on in an astrological way of your life has been planned out, blah, 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 blah. And as I've said before on the astrology show that I did on Gurdjieff, we're here to break our fate, break our astrological chart, and so change our fate is what I should be saying. Change our destiny to something that's more progressive, more harmonious of ourselves, linked to everybody, linked to ourselves so that we're linked to the real harmonious working of the world and such like. So this is from In Search of the Miraculous. What happens to us or may happen to us may depend upon three causes: accident, fate, or our own will. Such as we are almost wholly dependent upon accident. We can have no fate in the real sense of the word any more than we can have will. If we had will, then we should make our own future. If we had fate, we could also know the future because fate corresponds to type. But accidents cannot be foreseen. Today a man is one, tomorrow he is different. Today one thing happens to him, tomorrow another. So we've got three different types of fate. The fate of accident, and the fate of our own will, and then fate. And the law of accident is just anything happens, it's not predestined, it just happens. Shit happens. Sorry to be potty mouth there, but shit happens. And we have to just get on with our lives. It's I think what Gurdjieff's trying to say is that not everything is destined. And the way we are on this planet, we've all got free will, so anything can happen. With our free will, we're able to do this or that, change our minds, do something else. As I've said in other shows, you decide to meet your friend to go to the cinema on Thursday, but when Thursday comes, it's like, oh, I don't want to go. So that's our free will, letting us do what we want. Nothing is fated or destined. But if we have will and we've developed ourselves, then we start falling into the law of fate, which is the divine blessings coming down upon us, hopefully, to help us carry along on our path and develop ourselves. So it's kind of saying there's two different laws. One's the accidental, just going about in our robotic, mechanical ways, start becoming harmonious, start developing ourselves and working on ourselves, and that fate changes and becomes the law of fate, divinely blessed. So this is from In Search of the Miraculous. Fate also exists, but not for everyone. Most people are separated from their fate and live under the law of accident only. Fate is the result of planetary influences which correspond to a man's type. A man can have the fate which corresponds to his type, but he practically never does have it. This arises because fate has relation to only one part of man, namely to his essence. So we need to work with our essence to fall in line with what our true fate is, our destiny. And if we're not in line with our essence, if we're not harmonious with our essence, then we're just living in personality, and then we're living in law of accident when just anything happens. It's not destined, it just happens. So this is why it's so important to work upon yourself, get in touch with your essence and start working with your essence rather than with all these different personalities inside yourself. So this is also from In Search of the Miraculous. This is going to be a bit of a long one. So it's a question. If essence is subject to the influence of fate, does it mean that compared with accident fate, all right, let me read that again. If essence is subject to the influence of fate, does it mean that compared with accident, fate is always favourable to a man, and can fate bring a man to the work? And Gurdjieff replies, no, fate is better than accident only in the sense that it is possible to take it into account. It is possible to know it beforehand. It is possible to prepare for what is ahead. In regard to accident, one can know nothing, but fate can be also unpleasant or difficult. In this event, however, there are means for isolating oneself from one's fate. The first step towards this consists in getting away from general laws. So going back to how we're living in our everyday lives with our personalities and not living by essence, then we're living with how the Earth's laws are on it. And when we look at cosmology, each planet has a different set of laws to it. And Earth's got quite a lot because we're not as harmonious and in line with the harmonious world creation. We're not high up in the scale, which is why we're here to develop ourselves to hopefully create so that the Earth starts losing some of them laws and becomes more harmonized with the divine essence, his endlessness. And the higher you get to his endlessness, the closer you get to the Sun Absolute, which is kind of like his heaven, the less laws there are there because everything's working harmoniously. Well, we're not working on our planet as harmoniously as we should be. And without harmony, then all these different things start happening, all these different other laws start coming in, which I should discuss in another show. And I'm sure I've discussed with Josh in one of the talks we've done. So perhaps have a look through at some of the chats I've done with Josh. Right, so, but fate can be also unpleasant or difficult. In this event, however, there are means for isolating oneself from one's fate. The first step towards this consists in getting away from general laws. Just as there is individual accident, so there is general or collective accident. And in the same way as there is individual fate, there is general or collective fate. Collective fate and collective accident are governed by general laws. If a man wishes to create individuality of his own, he must free himself from general laws. General laws are by no means all obligatory for man. He can free himself from many of them if he frees himself from buffers and imagination. And it's an imagination that distracts us all the time and takes us away from doing our development. And buffers is all the buffers that have been left over from the Kunda buffer, which I've discussed in other talks. And I'm going to do a show on Kunda buffer at some point. Right, where's I get to? Right. All this is connected with liberation from personality. We're here to free ourselves. Personality feeds on imagination and falsehood. If the falsehood in which a man lives is decreased and imagination is decreased, personality very soon weakens, and a man begins to be controlled either by fate or by a line of work which is in its turn controlled by another man's will. This will lead him until a will of his own has been formed, capable of withstanding both accident and, when necessary, fate. And I remember years ago when I was reading this with a group, we were discussing that maybe, you know, that leading towards being controlled by another man's fate, another man's will, hopefully that's a teacher of some kind or a group of some kind that you can work with, so you're all helping each other to develop. You know, maybe you'll be led to the books or something, you know, because especially in this time of 2020, 2021, no one can get to groups. There's not many groups that are meeting up, obviously, and I know people are trying to meet up online, and I hope my little shows help people continue with the work in their own way. I've said before, I'm not a teacher, I'm just here to pass on the work as best I can, which I know I talk gibber sometimes, but it's fun. I enjoy doing it, even if I am all grainy today in this camera. So, another question. To what extent does man 1, 2, and 3, who is under the law of accident, come under the law of fate apart from birth and death? And we're all man 1, 2, and 3. You're not man 4 until you start working on yourself. And maybe that will start changing things for you. Man 1, 2, and 3. So we've got the intelligent type, the emotional type, the physical type, and we're mixtures of all three of them. So to what extent does man 1, 2, and 3, who is under the law of accident, come under the law of fate apart from birth and death? Mr. Ouspensky replies, it depends on the relation between personality and essence. If personality is strong, it makes a shell round essence. Then there is very little fate. The planetary influences which control fate, type, essence, do not reach us when personality is very strong. But some people, quite without school, live more in essence. Personality with them is very fated. So some things are out of our control, obviously, because the planets are working down upon us and sending their certain energies and their vibrations. And so some things are totally out of our control. We can't do anything about them. It's like the whole world gets affected by them. You know, Mars may be in a bit of a bad mood, so Mars sends down some warlike energy and we pick it up. The moon's in its dark phase and we're feeling, you know, in a dark phase ourselves. We become a bit more reclusive, or, you know, perhaps facing our shadow or something. Sun's throwing down lots of hot spots. And hopefully that would work on us and make us go a bit more towards our solar side of ourselves, because all this work is solar work on oneself. But for our own fate, as these quotations have been saying, is we have to find our essence, develop our essence that's inside us. We all have it, and start working as a more whole person, all our centers working together to develop us to the next stage in our lives, which hopefully is man number 4, which will take us up to number 5. And if we keep working on ourselves, you know, we can bring our Buddha type essence out, or find the Christ consciousness within us, because God is within us, the divine is within us, and start working with it every day. And we change our mechanicalness, our personalities, way of living, and we break out of all that and start becoming our true selves. And as I said in a past show, astrology is linked to your essence. So hopefully your astrological chart is showing that you can develop. I don't know how you find that in a chart. I don't know any Gurdjieffians that study astrology and try and implement it that way. There is a great book by, I'm just going to quickly look at my bookshelf here, about Gurdjieff and astrology. Sophia Well-Beloved, I think is her name. Yes, Sophia Well-Beloved. Gurdjieff, Astrology, and Beelzebub's Tales, which I found a really interesting book to help me understand Gurdjieff and how you can perhaps look at Beelzebub's Tales in an astrological way, for those that are interested in that kind of decipherment of books. And it was a good book. I recommend it. Maybe hard to get these days, but try it. So thanks everybody. Let's break them laws and instead become the true people and follow our destiny and find our fate that takes us to the higher realms. I want to say, I find our higher selves, and to keep us in touch with the divine and world maintenance, so that we're all working harmoniously and becoming our true being. So thanks, peace, and until next time, laters.